1410. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 12 o'clock hour of Out to Lunch with WRMN AM 1410. We are broadcasting live here from downtown Elgin, serving the Fox River Valley. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live here today in Studio 14. It is a beautiful sunny day outside today here on March 17th. We are in the 12 o'clock hour, and we are enjoying the sunshine here right in front of us as well, too. So we hope that you can, of course, be a part of the conversation. Feel free to tune in live on youtube.com at WRMN Radio. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell. You can always keep up to date and in the loop with what's happening here in the Fox River Valley and what's going on here at WRMN. And don't forget also, too, we're also on facebook.com at WRMN 1410 Radio. Now, joining us today, we do have Diana Alfaro. She's a dedicated leader and passionate advocate for the growth and prosperity here in Elgin. She is a candidate running for Elgin City Council. She's bringing a vision of innovation, community engagement, and economic development to the table. She's got a strong commitment to supporting local businesses within the community, improving infrastructure, and also fostering a thriving community that is Elgin. She is ready to make that lasting impact. So please welcome Diana Alfaro here to WRMN. And thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Happy Women History Month. It's exciting.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. I'm glad you wore green. I almost forgot to wear green today. I had to go back and change. I was like, no. Before I left, I was like, oh my goodness, I got to wear green. So,
yeah.
So there you go. So Diana, tell us a little bit about yourself. Of course, you are running for Elgin City Council. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about yourself here, just kind of starting off, about yourself growing up. And what kind of got you interested in wanting to be involved in the community first, and then eventually leading into your interest in running for Elgin City Council?
Awesome. So my name is Diana Alfaro. I'm born and raised on the east side in the Parkwood neighborhood. So that's by Lawrence Park Elementary. Mm-hmm. I went to Lawrence Park Elementary, Larson Middle School, Elgin High, so east sider. I currently live in the east side. I just live on the other side. I live in Cropper's Crossing. Growing up, I was raised in Elgin with my mother and my sisters. And my mom really put a work ethic in us and to make sure that we always treat people with dignity and respect and mm-hmm. nothing's below us. And so that mentality has always stayed with me. In high school at Elgin High, I had an individual Elgin staff member whose name was Mr. Fernando Villeda, who really took an interest in making sure that students had opportunities. And so mm-hmm. he had started this Hispanic club. And he took us to different college visits, et cetera, and he gave us an opportunity to see what we could potentially become because I didn't have that exposure. And so he invested in me and my other friends, and many of us went off to school. I ended up at DePaul University, got a bachelor's in political science and Latin American Latino studies, fell in love with DePaul and ended up actually working for DePaul for 12 years after that. And got my master's also there in international public service. And so when I actually left DePaul, it felt really weird because I had been on a college campus for 12 years, mm-hmm. Working and then undergrad. And so that made it an interesting transition when I went to government. But living in Elgin, I had that person invested in me. I was able to get local scholarships that helped me go to college. And so one of the reasons why I'm running is to reinvest and further invest my commitment to Elgin, mm-hmm. right? I had those individuals who took an interest in me, who poured resources into me to make sure that I had the opportunities that were given to me. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to give back to the community that gave so much to me. And so mm-hmm. I'm looking to further reinvest here.
I think that is absolutely awesome. Now, you have been involved, of course, in public service. Mm-hmm. So you have seen how people work together and how when we work together, we can achieve more. Yeah. Tell us a little bit on how you have worked within public service.
Yeah. So I currently work in state government. I work in supporting small business owners. And so I've been working in state government in economic development for over almost 6 years now. And that has given me an opportunity to really see the power and influence when you put certain people in positions, and the impact that they can make in the community, right? One of the things I pride myself is I don't do government as usual. I really try to make sure that we're community oriented, community focused, and we're going above and beyond to make sure that the community gets the resource that they need and they have a voice at the table.
Absolutely.
And so I've created initiatives that have been replicated into other economic communities to make sure that they're adjusting and building and fostering relationships with different organizations. And so I've seen that and working in that field has really shown me like why it's so important to have certain people in certain positions, right? And so I'm like, oh, I think I can bring that to city council and really give back to the community that has invested in me, but also show that we could do city council a little bit different, maybe, right? We could to approach things differently. I'm running on economic development, infrastructure, sustainability, and maintaining our taxes low. And I think, honestly, we have being in certain positions, we have to change things for the better, and I'm hoping I could do that in city council.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit here. Of course, you mentioned, of course, you want to increase downtown economic development. What are some specific strategies or projects do you envision to revitalize in Elgin's downtown area?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. One of the things as you mentioned, I'm running on economic development. One of the pilot programs that I am proposing is that we create the citywide economic development advisory group. And so one of the subcomponents can be downtown. And so that group would be encompassing residents of all over. It would be business owners, it would be stay-at-home parents, it would be unions, it would be workforce development, it would be the chamber, downtown neighborhood association, DNA, et cetera, to make sure that we're bringing all the wisdom we can from the city to how can we address economic development, right? There was a study done in 2021 from the Elgin Development Group that indicated $240 million of Elgin resident money go elsewhere. So it's a retail leakage, right? We have here. We have an opportunity to bring that money back in. So we should be incorporating everyone, stakeholders, the consumers, the business owners, et cetera, to the table. And so I think that's one of the things. Also, DNA had a questionnaire that was out. And so one of the things I had answered in there, a couple of things I'm proposing is that we could do technical assistance business days where we could bring a lot of stakeholders together where business owners could come in and get assistance on their business plan, get assistance on applying for grants, et cetera, to help them really create that strong foundation of business support. Because many times business owners just don't know where to go to for resources, don't know who to talk to. And so that would bridge that gap here in Elgin.
It would definitely create a really solid foundation too for businesses who are just starting.
Yes.
It can be very difficult at times too, and you want to make sure that you have that foundation to give to them so that they can create that foundation and grow upwards as well too.
Right.
So I think that's very important for sure. So you did talk a little bit about that, putting together the programs as well too. How do you also maybe help marginalized businesses as well too?
Oh, thank you. I love that question. I think sometimes we have to be intentional in our outreach and making sure that we're meeting people where they're at. And different communities have different needs, right? Sometimes, like in the Latino community, for some Latinos, it's a language barrier. For other Latinos, that's not an issue. And so making sure that we try to address those issues. We provide Spanish-speaking assistance if needed for those that need Spanish-speaking assistance, making sure that we're intentionally reaching out to the Black business community, to the Asian community, to the LGBTQI plus community, to those who are starting a business for the first time. Right? They might not have come from a family of business owners. So going back to they just don't know what they don't know, providing that intentionality there. And so making sure that they have a voice at the table, that we're addressing them, we're reaching out to them and creating the resources that they need to grow and prosper here in Elgin.
That's very good. Yeah, especially I would say too, I mean, there's a lot of different businesses out there, potential businesses out there that might not be getting the resources that they need. So it's important to not only do that, but also to let them have a voice too and have that platform as well. So I think that that's something that that of course can be achieved with the city council as well, because that's what it is. You know, you come together and you speak, and everyone does have a voice as well too. Talking a little bit about economic empowerment, which of course is a key part of your platform. Yes. So what initiatives do you propose to ensure that all residents have access to these opportunities?
Yeah. So one of the things I mentioned was the TA, local business days,
Hmm.
right? Another thing is I think we need to create some kind of channel where we could share a lot more resources that are at no cost,
Hmm.
right? We have small business development centers. We have we have the Minority Business Development Agency down here in Elgin. Sometimes there are grants that people can apply for at no cost. Sometimes there are organizations that do free tax preparation. So we need to find a way. How do we consolidate all that information
Hmm.
and be intentional in sharing that with the community, right? Here are opportunities that you could apply for. These are opportunities. Sometimes it's just platforms,
Hmm.
right? I went to a, a, entrepreneurship week not that long ago, and someone was sharing how there's this AI program that can help people with their business plan.
Hmm.
And so, depending on how comfortable you are, you can use that program to help you create the plan. So, I think it's a way of how do we put all those tools together, right? Even the
Hmm.
platform tools, et cetera. Sometimes is where you save money,
Right.
right? And so, who are some of the suppliers that have more of a lower cost, et cetera? Or can business owners come and team up together to get a
Hmm.
lower cost on certain things that they're all buying? And so, I think we need to find a way of creating that channel
Hmm.
to support that demographic, also that business TA day. But then also, I think we need to strengthen and support more and uplift more our DNA, our chamber, because they're really pillars in our community who are doing a lot of this assistance already.
Hmm.
And I think if we were able to invest more resources in them, they would be able to do so much more and create a stronger foundation here in Elgin for business retention, but also attraction and growth.
Absolutely. Let's move on a little bit more into the infrastructure side of things.
Yes.
Of course, you have a focus on improving buildings, roads, and also bridges. What specific areas in Elgin or projects in Elgin do you feel need to be have more immediate attention, and how do you plan to prioritize these infrastructures?
Awesome. Thank you for that question.
Hmm.
I think well, so the main one, infrastructure. The first thing that comes to mind is our water infrastructure.
Hmm.
So we need to address our water infrastructure. Our water intake needs to be addressed, and so I think we need to figure out ways of how do we continue to put money aside to address our water. So we got to get the lead pipes out, taken squared away, and making sure that our community has clean water access.
Hmm.
We have to make sure that we address our issues with water intake. We put money aside to upgrade a lot of our infrastructure that's been aging in that space.
Hmm.
But one of the other things I think we need to consider is how do we look at the city hall's organizational infrastructure, right? We have continued to grow as a community, but sometimes the staffing hasn't always resembled the growth
Hmm.
of the population, and so some of the staffing is a little bit limited in their capacity. And so, how can we work on a plan to make sure that we increase staffing
Hmm.
in places that need that assistance, so we can continue expanding the services here? One of the other things I think we need to think about in long term is in our neighbors in Highland Woods don't have access to a fire station.
Hmm.
And well, they do have access to a fire station, but not a super close one, right? So it takes about 10 minutes for emergency response team to get over there.
Hmm.
So an ambulance, et cetera. And so we are in an urban area, and I think that they shouldn't have to wait as long than some other places. And so, at some point, if our community continues to grow, especially in the far west side, we're going to have to put a fire station in there. So, how can we start being innovative and finding solutions to that so we don't have to burden our taxpayers, right? I don't believe that increasing taxes. And so, how can we find innovative ways, right? That leakage I mentioned, how can we insert micro bonds? How can we start putting money aside so when we do have to address that infrastructure of a fire station, or we have to address the water infrastructure, et cetera, we already have this money pool
Hmm.
that we could pull from, et cetera.
Absolutely. That does lead me to the next subject here
Yeah.
on keeping taxes low. So, of course, we are seeing this where inflation is affecting everyone.
Yeah.
And how can you explain to us a little bit about some strategies or policies that you would hope to see that would be implemented to ensure not only that Elgin residents aren't burdened by rising costs, but also still being able to maintain essential city services
Yeah.
as well too.
I think there's a number of different ways we can approach that. I think there's a lot of things moving around, right?
Mhm.
There's the grocery tax that's going to be relieved, and so local municipalities have different ways of addressing it. I mentioned the retail leakage, so I don't want to repeat too much, but we could utilize that. We could utilize other ways of thinking outside the box right? Like, how do we increase businesses in Elgin, right? We do have, according to the Elgin Chamber report, we do have over 5,000 businesses in Elgin. How do we increase that, right? It could be a home-based business, et cetera. We are that home-based business, those individuals live in our community, they're spending money in our community, et cetera. And so how do we invest in our community so we're able to obtain more from sales tax, alcohol tax, et cetera, from that. So we're not burning everyone with property taxes and putting stuff there, right? I think there's other ways, as we're attracting different things, thinking about, so there has been talks about possibly bringing another dispensary into Elgin. And so if we did, like, could we put a portion of that money aside to certain things that we would need or initiatives, so that we don't have to increase taxes in other places. Right. So I think it's just shifting mentality and being a little creative with our solutions, so we don't have to raise property taxes and we don't have to raise other things.
Well, and like what you said before too, is thinking outside of the box is important too.
Yeah.
And working together to do that as well too. Would you feel that how do you hope to, I would say, with certain specific areas of spending, do you feel like that we're focusing too much on specific areas and not on others with spending? And that kind of goes together with thinking outside the box a little bit more too.
Yeah. No, Elgin overall, you have to give credit to the city council and to city staff. They've done a really great job financially with our budget. I think there's places where we could figure out how to do different things creatively, and that's sometimes when things are coming about, right, or things are being proposed, how do we figure out where we can put money aside, et cetera. I think one thing I'm hoping to do, if I'm able to get in, is suggest participating budgeting. And so that would give the power back to the community. So we would take a piece of our budget and a different number of projects and be like, these are for, I'm just going to throw an example out there. So here are 3 projects that the community needs. And we've been told, which project should we prioritize? Which one should we do? And so then there would be a community vote. The community would decide and tell city council directly which of those 3 they would want. So where do we put the money? And I think that gives an opportunity for people to be continually engaged, right? So they're not just engaged. Sometimes some are just engaged in voting, right? And others are engaged at going to city council meetings, being vocal, et cetera. But I think it's a nice way for us to continue having our community's voices heard and really making sure that we're continually to touch on what they want and what us as a community together want.
Absolutely. We do have some good comments here in the YouTube side of things. Pat asks, how are your platforms different than existing council members?
Thank you. Well, I am, from my knowledge, let me think. Yeah. From my knowledge, I'm the only one that has worked in economic development. Like, I have a job in that. That's what I currently do. Trying to think of everyone's platforms so I make sure. I don't think any of them are running on maintaining taxes low. I think people are running on certain things and then they do support other things, but they're not making it like as vocal. They just have their certain platform. But I think for me, it's the biggest thing that has me uniquely different from a lot of the candidates is that I'm a big person that's community focused. I drive my leadership and my decision making on bringing the community together, making sure the community is heard, and data driven, as well as thinking outside the box. How can we be creative in those approaches for solutions so that we're not taking the traditional, let me just add another tax. Let me just add another tax. How do we be creative with different things? And so that makes me more unique from other candidates.
And then Pat does also say, and I think you did point a little bit about this, about the water intake.
Yes.
So that, of course, with trying to hone in a little bit more on that too, with the water intake, with the lead pipes, and things like that too. So some very good questions. Thank you, of course, for asking those questions, Pat. We greatly appreciate that. A little bit of information too. We still have a couple minutes left about sustainability. Are there any certain practices that you want to see or to do to contribute to maybe even having a greener Elgin?
Yes, I would love to have a greener Elgin. And I think we could do it in a way that an approach that makes sense, that it's communicative to the community. I would love to see more green infrastructure put in here, right? How do we utilize other opportunities that we could encourage green infrastructure? If we're supporting certain developments, et cetera, if we're using TIF dollars, et cetera, can we see if there's a way they can implement green infrastructure into that? Creating an educational campaign to furthering letting people know about different things. I'm one of those that slowly just became environmentally friendly. It's like the things that just came about as I was learning, I was growing, and I slowly started making my moves. Like I'm a plant-based eater only, so I don't eat any meat, and that's my personal choice to my part in giving back to the environment. And I think all of us could do different things to support the environment, right? And whatever we're comfortable with. And so how do we provide all these educational materials, et cetera? I know the Sustainability Commission has done a lot of work in providing different documents, et cetera, for the community to know. But how do we continue expanding out that information they have provided so people are like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just take not have meat on certain days. Or maybe, you know what? Let me get that new bin from Lakeshore Recycling so I could put my yard waste and my compost, et cetera. There's different initiatives that I think we could figure out that can slowly encourage people to think outside the box, right? Like can we encourage people to bring their own, bags instead of continue taking plastic, or even the paper bags, because even that single use has some concerns with paper, trees, et cetera. And so how do we continue to find different ways that we can do as a community that we're comfortable with and slowly change our habits for the better of our community as a whole?
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit here, too, of course, as you have grown up in Elgin, there's lots of different local restaurants and entertainment in the area. Oh, my goodness. Tell us, what are some of your favorite places to eat in the community?
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Where do I eat a lot? I like udon, which is right down here.
Okay.
I really like Asian food. So I also like white pearl. So you'll see me on the west side picking up white pearl. I like the wok in the east side. Love tacos. So you'll find me at Paraiso too. Donante, love the gorditos over there. Wow. Yeah, that's probably some of the places I go to more. Dream Hall. I'll eat at Dream Halls several times. Yeah, you can find me at a number of different places around here. I really do like the food around here. I think one of the things, and from the survey that Main Street did for DNA, that's public, and others, like I think we could work on boosting what we have here and uplifting what we have here, but also finding a way to attract more here. Like I love ethnic food. Like I love Ethiopian food, Indian food, etc. And so how can we Italian, how do we continue to bring more different variety of food into Elgin would be amazing. But those are some of the local shops that I probably eat at the most. And I'm one of those that unfortunately does eat out a lot because I'm not a big cooker. I don't cook often.
Hey, that's okay. I asked that because we're here out to lunch, and I was like,
oh yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Finally, as we wrap it up here, what's the main message you want voters to take away when they cast their ballot for this election?
I want you to know that regardless of your political affiliation, regardless of your ethnic background, gender, sexual orientation, etc., I'm here to hear you out. I'm here to work with you and ensure that our community represents all our values, all our wants, and find a way to come to a compromise, right? It's just not my way or the highway. I truly believe in trying to make sure that we bring all voices together and find a way that we can move our community even stronger. Thank you for your time and thank you for your consideration.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Diana, for joining us today. Folks, we are going to take a quick time out. We'll be back with more Out to Lunch with WRMN, AM 1410. And remember to vote coming up April 1st. Stay tuned, everybody.
With your 1410